හොඳයි පින්නතුනි සාධනාදයක් පවත්වා නමස්කාරය කියන පන්සිල් සමාදන් වෙන්න. Saranam gacchami Dhammang saranam gacchami Sanghang saranam gacchami Dutiyampi buddhang saranam gacchami Dutiyampi dhammang saranam gacchami Dutiyampi sanghang saranam gacchami Tatiyampi buddhang saranam gacchami Tatiyampi dhammang saranam gacchami Tatiyampi sanghang saranam gacchami Panatipata vedamani sikkhapadang samadhiyami Adinnādāna vedamani sikkhapadang samadhiyami Kāmesu miccācārā vedamani sikkhapadang samadhiyami Musāvādā vedamani sikkhapadang samadhiyami Surāmēraya majjapamādāṭṭhānā vedamani sikkhapadang samadhiyami Tisaranena saddhiṃ pañcasīlaṃ dhammang sādhukaṃ surakkhitāṃ kattvā appamādena sampādetabbang පූජනීය අපේ පුණ්‍යහාමුදුරන් වහන්සේ ඇතුළු මහා සංඝරත්නයේ අවසරයි සදහැවර පින්වත පින්වතිය දරුදැරියනි සෑම වර්ෂයකම විහාරස්ථානයේ පැවැත්වෙන නව පාසල් වාරයට වසරට සෙත් ප්‍රාර්ථනා කිරීමේ සෙත් පැතීමේ පින්කමයි අද මෙහිදී පැවැත්වෙන්නේ. Dear friends of the Dhamma, every year we are performing this blessing ceremony for children who are going to start their new school semester, for blessing for them, blessing by the power of Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha. May they have courage, patience, understanding and determination to overcome any kind of problems or to achieve successful stage. Having that aspiration, we are organizing this blessing ceremony. First of all, I would like to thank Pundani Hamdro accepting our invitation. Pundani Hamdro visit here to perform conduct this offering and also blessing ceremony and also to give a Dhamma talk to our children. Now we observe 5 precepts and being on a virtuous ground. We will dedicate these flowers, candlelights and incense sticks to the Buddha, recalling Buddha's good virtuosities. By observing 5 precepts and also by offering Buddha Puja and respecting to the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha, you acquire great deal of merits. We will wish by the power of these merits, may all the deities, may all your departed relatives, including your fathers, mothers, and forefathers and ancestors, attain unto the bliss of Nibbana. Having that aspiration, please join us to offer this puja. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Itipiso bhagava arahant samma sambuddho vijjācarana sampanno sugato lokavidu anuttaro purisa dhamma sarathi sattā deva manussanam buddho bhagavati Swakato bhagavata dhammo sandhittiko akaliko edivassiko opanayiko paccattam veditabbo vinyuriti supatipanno bhagavato Ujjupatipanno bhagavato sāvaka saṅgho Nyāyapatipanno bhagavato sāvaka saṅgho Sāmīcipatipanno bhagavato sāvaka saṅgho Yadidam cattari purisa yugani atta purisa puggala esa bhagavato sāvaka saṅgho āhuneyo dakhineyo anjali karaniyo Anuttarang punyakhettam lokasāti Ghanasārakkajittena dīpena tamadam sinā Tilokadīpam sambuddham pujayāmi tamunudam Gandha sampara yuttena dhupena sukandina pujaye pujaniyam tam puja bhajana uttamam vanna gandha guno petam petam kusuma santatim Pujayami munindassa siripada sarove Pujemi buddham kusumena nena Punyena metena carotu mokham Uppam nilayati atai dhammi Kāyo tatājāti vināsa bhāvam Ananta ñāno vimalo dakhineyo gunākaro Patigannātu bhagavā dakhino dakhamuttamam Adhivāse guno bhante Sajjam parikappitam Anukampam upadāya පටිගන්නාතු මුත්තම අදිවාසේතු නොබන්තේ සච්ඡං පරිකප්පිතං අනුකම්පං උපාදාය පටිගන්නාතු මුත්තමං අදිවාසේතු නොබන්තේ සච්ඡං පරිකප්පිතං අනුකම්පං උපාදාය පටිගන්නාතු මුත්තමං සුගන්ධං සීතලං කප්පං පසන්න මధుරං සුභං පානීයමේතං භගවා පටිගන්නාතු මුත්තමං වන්දාමි චේතියං සබ්බං සබ්බඨානේසු පතිට්ඨිතං සාරීරික ධාතු මහා බෝධිං බුද්ධ රූපං සකලං සදා කායේන වාචා චිත්තේන පමාදේන මයා කතං අච්චයං කමවේවන්තේ භූරි පඤ්ඤ තථාගත කායේන වාචා චිත්තේන පමාදේන මයා කතං අච්චයං කමවේ ධම්ම සම්දිට්ඨික අකාලික කායේන වාචා චිත්තේන පමාදේන මයා කතං අච්චයං කමවේ සංඝ සුපටිපන්න අනුත්තර සාදු 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 ආකාශට්ඨා ච බුම්මට්ඨා දේවානාගා මහිද්దికා පුඤ්ඤන්තං අනුමෝදිत्वा චිරං රක්ඛන්තු ලෝක සාසනං ආකාශට්ඨා ච බුම්මට්ඨා දේවානාගා මහිද්దికා පුඤ්ඤන්තං අනුමෝදිत्वा චිරං රක්ඛන්තු ලෝක සාසනං ආකාශට්ඨා ච බුම්මට්ඨා දේවානාගා මහිද්దికා පුඤ්ඤන්තං අනුමෝදිत्वा චිරං රක්ඛන්තු ලෝක සාසනං ඉදං මේ ඥාතීනං හෝතු සුඛිතා හොන්තු ඥාතයෝ ඉදං මේ ඥාතීනං හෝතු සුඛිතා හොන්තු ඥාතයෝ ඉදං මේ ඥාතීනං හෝතු සුඛිතා හොන්තු ඥාතයෝ දේවෝ වස්සතු කාලේන සස්ස සම්පත්තියෝතු ච සීතෝ භවතු ලෝකෝ ච රාජා භවතු ධම්මිකෝ ඉමිනා පුඤ්ඤ කම්මේන මාමේ බාල සමාගමෝ සතං සමාගමෝ හෝතු යාව නිබ්බාන පත්තියා ඉදං මේ පුඤ්ඤං ආසවක්ඛයාවං හෝතු සබ්බ දුක්ඛා පංචතු
විශේෂයෙන් සෑම වර්ෂයකම අපේ ඔබේ දූ දරුවන් පාසල් වාරය ආරම්භ කරන්නට මත්තෙන් විහාරස්ථානයට එකතු කරගෙන ඇවිල්ලා වන්දනාමාන කළා පිරිත් අහලා අපේ සිරිතක් හැටියට සිද්ධ කරලා දරුවන්ට ආශිර්වාද කිරීමේ පින්කම. මේ එම පින්කමයි අද දවසේ මේ පවත්වන්නේ. ඉතින් අපේ දරුවෝ තාමත් හොඳට වැඩ කර ගැනීමට ඕනෑ කරන ශක්තිය ලබා දෙන දෙමව්පියෝ ගෙදරදී ඒ අය නිසි විදියට හසුරුවල කරුණු කාරණා කියා දීලා ඒ අය පාසල් වලට ගිහින් ආරක්ෂා සහිතව ගොහින් ආරක්ෂා සහිතව ආපසු ඇවිල්ලා තමන්ගේ වැඩ කටයුතු කර ගැනීමට වමනා කරන උපදේශයන් ලබා දීලා දරුවන්ව හොඳට රැක බලා ගනිමින් ඊට අමතරව ඒ තමන්ගේ ආගම දහම් පුරු කරලා දීලා ආගම අනුකූලව ජීවිත සකස් කරගෙන ඊට හැඩ පුරු කරන්නේ දෙමව්පියෝ. දරුවන් සමග විහාරයට ඇවිල්ලා ආම්රණ වහන්සේට බහැ දැකලා දහම් පාසලට එකතු වෙලා දහම් පාසලේ කරුණු කාරණා ඉගෙනගෙන ඒවා පිළිපදින්නටයි මේ උගන්වන්නේ. ඉතින් ඒ කාරණේ නිමිත්තෙන් අද දවසේ ඒ ආරම්භක පාසල ආරම්භ කරන්න ඉස්සෙල්ලා අද දවසේ මේ විහාරස්ථානයට එකතු වෙලා සම්බුද්ධ පූජාවන් පවත්වලා කරගත්තා. එහෙමනම් කවුරුත් එක්ක ඒ ලෝතර බුදු පියාණන් වහන්සේ අපි ඕනෑම ආරම්භයකදී පිරිත් දේශනා කරලා තමයි පිරිත් දේශනා කරවගෙන තමයි කටයුතු ආරම්භ කරන්නේ. ඉතින් ඒ තථාගත බුදු පියාණන් වහන්සේගේ අනන්ත දහම් ගුණ බලයෙන් අපේ දූ දරුවෝ අපි හැමදෙනාට නිදුක්ව නිරෝගීව සුවපත්ව වාසනාවන්ත කටයුතු කරගෙන යාමට ඒ පාසල් වර්ෂය තුල බොහොමත්ම හොඳින් වැඩ කටයුතු කරලා තාමත් සාර්ථක වර්ෂයක් වේවා. අධ්‍යාපනයේ තාමත් ඉහළට නගා ගැනීමට ශක්තිය ධෛර්ය වාසනාව ලැබේවා. ඒ සඳහා බුද්ධ ධම්ම සංඝ කේන්ද්‍ර විරත්නේ පිරිත් ධර්මයේ ආශිර්වාදයේ කාන්තෙම සැලසේවා කියලා ප්‍රාර්ථනා කරගෙන ඔබ පිට එක්කලා පිරිත් දේශනා කරන පිරිත් අහන්න මම රණසලා ඊටමත් කරුණාවෙන් යුක්තව ඒ පිරිත් ධර්මයේ ආනුභාවයේ සතක් වේවා ශාන්තියක් වේවා යහපත අභිවෘද්ධිය සැලසේවා දරුවන්ගේ අනාගතයේ සුභ සිද්ධිය සැලසේවා ඊටමත් දීප්තිමත් අනාගතය උදා කර ගැනීමට ශක්තිය ධෛර්ය වාසනාව ලැබේවා කියලා ප්‍රාර්ථනා කරමි.
නමෝ තස් භගවතු අරහතෝ සම්මා සම්බුද්දස්ස නමෝ තස් භගවතු අරහතෝ සම්මා සම්බුද්දස්ස නමෝ තස් භගවතු අරහතෝ සම්මා සම්බුද්දස්ස ඉති පිසෝ භගවා අරහං සම්මා සම්බුද්ධෝ විච්ඡාචරණ සම්පන්නෝ සුගතෝ ලෝකවිදු අනුත්තරෝ පුරිස ධම්ම සාරති සත්තා දේව මනුස්සානං බුද්ධෝ භගවාති ස්වාත්තාතෝ භගවතා ධම්මෝ සම්දිට්ඨිකෝ අකාලිකෝ ඒහි පස්සිකෝ ඕපනයිකෝ පච්චත්තං වේදිතබ්බෝ විඤ්ඤුයිති උපටිපන්නෝ භගවතෝ ශාවක සංඝෝ උච්චපටිපන්නෝ භගවතෝ ශාවක සංඝෝ ඥායපටිපන්නෝ භගවතෝ ශාවක සංඝෝ සාමීචිපටිපන්නෝ භගවතෝ ශාවක සංඝෝ යදිදං චත්තාරි පුරිස යුගානි අට්ඨ පුරිස පුක්ඛලායේස භගවතෝ ශාවක සංඝෝ ආගුණෙය්‍යෝ පාගුණෙය්‍යෝ දක්ඛිනෙය්‍යෝ අංජලි කරණීයෝ අනුත්තරං පුඤ්ඤක්ඛෙත්තං ලෝකස්සාති තේන සච්ච වච්චේන පාතු ත්වං රතනත්‍රයං ඒතේන සච්ච වජ්ජේන පාතු ත්වං රතනත්‍රයං ඒතේන සච්ච වජ්ජේන පාතු ත්වං රතනත්‍රයං එවං මේ සුතං ඒකං සමයං භගවා සාවත්තියං විහෙරති ජේතවනේ අනාථ පිණ්ඩිකස්ස ආරාමේ අතකෝ අඤ්ඤතරා දේවතා භික්ඛන්තාය රත්තියා භික්ඛන්ත වන්නා දේවද කප්පං ජේතවනං ඕභාසෙත්වා යේන භගවාතේන උපසංකමිත්වා භගවන්තං අභිවාදෙත්වා ඒකවන්තං අට්ඨාසී ඒකවන්තං පිතාකෝසා දේවතා භගවන්තං කාතාය අජ්ජපාසී වූ දේවා මනුස්සාච මංගලානි අචින්තයුං ආකංකමානා සොත්තානං රූයි මංගල මුත්තමං අසේවනාච බාලානං පණ්ඩිතානං ච සේවනා පූජාච පූජනීයානං ඒකං මංගල මුත්තමං තිරූපදේශ වාසෝච කුම්භේච කත පුඤ්ඤතාගත සම්මා පනිහිත ඒකං මංගල මුත්තමං වාවු සච්ඡං ච සිප්පං ච විනයෝ ච සුසික්ඛිතෝ සුභාසිතාච ආවාචා ඒකං මංගල මුත්තමං වාතා පිතූපත්තානං බුද්ධදාරස්ස සංඝෝ අනාකුලාච කම්මන්තා ඒකං මංගල මුත්තමං දානං ච ධම්මචර්යාච ඥාතකානං ච සංඝෝ අනවච්ඡානි කම්මානි ඒකං මංගල මුත්තමං ආරති විරති පාපා මච්ඡපානාච සංයමෝ අප්‍රමාදෝ ච ධම්මේසු ඒකං මංගල මුත්තමං ආරභෝච නිවාතෝ ච සංකුට්ඨේ ච කතං යුතා කාලේන ධම්ම ශ්‍රවණං ඒකං මංගල මුත්තමං කන්ති ච සෝවචස්සතා සමනානං ච දස්සනං කාලේන ධම්ම සාකච්ඡා ඒකං මංගල මුත්තමං තපෝච බ්‍රහ්මචර්යං ච අරිය සත්‍යාන දස්සනං නිබ්බාන සච්චි කිරියාච ඒකං මංගල මුත්තමං පුට්ඨස්ස ලෝක ධම්මේහි චිත්තං යස්සන කම්පති අසෝකං විරජං තේමං ඒකං මංගල මුත්තමං ඒතාදිසානි කତ୍වාන සම්පත්තම අපරාධිතා සම්පත්ත සොත්තිං ගච්ඡන්ති තං තේසං මංගල මුත්තමං තේන සච්ච වච්චේන හෝතු තේ ජය මංගලං ඒතේන සච්ච වච්චේන හෝතු තේ ජය මංගලං ඒතේන සච්ච වච්චේන හෝතු තේ ජය මංගලං ජයාසන ගතා විරාජෙත්වා මාරං සවාහිනින් චතු සච්චාමතර සංයේ පිවිංසු නරා සභාදන්නං කරාදයෝ බුද්ධා කට්ඨ විසති නායකා සම්පේ පතිච්චිතා තුයං මත්තකේතේ මුනිස්සරාසිරේ පතිච්චිතා බුද්ධා ධම්මෝ ච නවලෝචනේ සංඝෝ පතිට්ඨිතෝ තුයං උරේ සත්ත්වා කරෝ අතේ අනුරුද්ධෝ ච සාරිපුත්තෝ ච දක්ඛිනේ කොණ්ඩඤ්ඤෝ පිට්ඨිවා තස්මින් මොග්ගල්ලානෝ සිවාමකේ දක්ඛිනේ සවනේ තුයං ආනන්ද රාහුලා කස්සපෝ ච මහානාභෝ ගෝසුං වාමසෝතකේ සංකේ පිට්ඨිවාගස්මින් සුරියෝ වියපපං කරෝ නිසින්නෝ සිරි සම්පන්නෝ සෝවිතෝ මුනි පුංගවෝ කුමාර කස්සපෝ නාම මහේසී චිත්‍රවාදකෝ සෝතුයං වදනේ නිච්ඡං පතිට්ඨාසි ගුණා කරෝ දයේයෝ අංගුලිමාලෝ ච උපාලී නන්ද සීවලී තේරා පංචයිමේ ජාතා ලලාටේ තිලකා තව සේසාසීති මාතේරා විදිතා දින සාමකා ජලන්තා සීල තේජේන අංග මංගේසු සම්තිතා රතනං පුරතෝ ආසී දක්ඛිනේ මෙත්ත සුත්තකං ධජග්ගං පච්චතෝ ආසීවාමේ අංගුලිමාලකං ඛන්දමෝර පරිත්තං ච ආටානාටිය සුත්තකං ආකාසච්ඡදනං ආසීසේසාපාකාර සංජිතාජිනානා බල සංයුත්තේ ධම්මපාකාර ලංකතේ වසතෝ තේ චතුකිච්ඡේන සදා සම්බුද්ධ පංජරේ වාදවිත්තාදි සංජාතා බාහිරච්ඡත්තු පද්දවාසේ සාවිලයං යන්තු අනන්ත ගුණ තේජසාජින පංජර මජ්ජට්ඨං විරං මයි කලේ සදා පාලෙන්තු ත්වං සබ්බේ තේ මහා පුරිසාසභායිච්ඡේව මච්ඡන්ත ගතෝ සුරක්ඛෝ දිනානුභාවේන ජිතුප්පවත්තෝ බුද්ධානුභාවේන අතාරි සංඝෝ කරාලි ධම්මනුභාව පානිතෝ ඉච්ඡේව මච්ඡන්ත ගතෝ සුරක්ඛෝ දිනානුභාවේන ජිතුප්පවත්තෝ ධම්මානුභාවේන අතාරි සංඝෝ කරායි සද්ධම්මනුභාව පානිතෝ ඉච්ඡේව මච්ඡන්ත ගතෝ සුරක්ඛෝ දිනානුභාවේන ජිතුප්පවත්තෝ සංඝානුභාවේන අතාරි සංඝෝ කරායි සද්ධම්මනුභාව පානිතෝ සද්ධම්ම පාකාර පරික්ඛිතෝ නියක්ඛාරියා අට්ඨ දිසාසු හොන්ති එත්තන්තරේ අට්ඨනාතා භවන්ති උද්ධං විතානං වදිනාටිකා තේ වින්දන්තෝ මාරසේනං තව සිරසිටිතෝ බෝධිමාරුය සත්තා මොග්ගල්ලානෝ සිවාමේ වසති පුජතටේ දක්ඛිනේ සාරිපුත්තෝ ධම්මෝ මජ්ජේ උරස්මින් විහෙරති භවතෝ sabbiti rogagado samase saninga sabbantaraya bayadu supinang akantan dhammanubhava pavarena bhayatuna sansambhava mangala upaddava dunnimittang sabbiti rogagado samase saninga sabbantaraya bayadu supinang akantan sanganubhava pavarena bhayatuna sansabbe buddha balapatta paccekanam jayam balam arahantanam jatedena rakkam bandami sampado sabbe buddha balapatta paccekanam jayam balam arahantanam jatedena rakkam bandami sampado sabbe buddha balapatta paccekanam jayam balam arahantanam jatedena rakkam bandami Abhivadana silissa niccang vattapacayino cattaro dhamma vaddanti ayuvanno sukham balang ayurarogya sampatti sakka sampatti mevaca ato nibbana sampatti vinate samicchatu මල්පහන් ඊළඟ පස පූජා කිරීමේ පින්කම මෙතකින් සමාප්තයි. පොණ්ණඥානගණ වහන්සේගේ ධර්ම දේශනාව අවසන් වුණාට පසුව අපි පිරිත් පැන් සහ පිරිත් දුන් ලබා දෙනවා. ඔබ සැමටම සම්මා සම්බුද්ධ
Upasadhyarathena gatam sabbam Upasadhyarathena gatam sabbam
හොඳයි අපි එහෙනම් කවුරුත් එක්කම নমස්කාර කියමු නේද? එසේ සාදු වෙන නමෝ තස්ස 3 times. නමෝ තස්ස භගවතු අරහතෝ සම්මා සම්බුද්දස්ස නමෝ තස්ස භගවතු අරහතෝ සම්මා සම්බුද්දස්ස නමෝ තස්ස භගවතු අරහතෝ සම්මා සම්බුද්දස්ස අභිඤ්ඤයං අභිඤ්ඤාතං භාවේ තම්පංච භාවිතං Pahinancha pahitabbang tasma buddhosmi brahmana. Dear friends of Dhamma, today you are here with the children, especially first week of September, just before we begin Dhamma school, the school semester. We gather here to offer this Buddha Puja and blessing service, and of course Dhammajoti Hamdruo, always with the venerable monks of the Vihara. So they invite us to share the Dhamma with the children, to blessing with the children. So what we expect here is, always I was reminding the children how we do practice when we go to school. We ask Buddhist children how we can, sometimes children may have difficulties. Some of you who are in the Dhamma school here, gathering, learning Dhamma, but that is not how when you go to your regular school. In your school, you have to adhere to the things what you have around the school system. So with that, sometimes, even though we ask you to discuss what you experience, you do not come and discuss things with us in accordance to what we are experiencing. There's sometimes, very seldom, small children, they do speak, but some of you are kind of reluctant. But maybe there are still questions that in your minds, how we handle the situations. So, but as Buddhist children, we always have a lot of things for us to adopt ourselves, being Buddhist. So, without being afraid of, without being intimidated, that's the other word that we can use, to face the situations. So of course, so that is most of the time, without any difficulty, you can talk to the monks and get the advices. But today what we are talking about is, I just thought of to discuss with you who the Buddha is. Who is the Buddha? We always say, I recited the Gatha from one of the sutras, Abhinyayang abhinyatang bhave tabbancha bhavitang Pahatabbang pahinam me tasma buddhosmi brahmana. This is good for all of us. So, I just want to share a story related to this. Dhamma factors, of course, we will discuss. But remember, easy to relate to you as a story, I believe. Because we all learn stories. From that we remember things. That brings us opportunity to practice it. What this Gatha we find in one of the very important discourses of the Buddha's teaching. I think you have learned in Dhamma school that we have something what we call as Tripitaka, we call it. In the Tripitaka, we have Sutta Pitaka, Abhidhamma Pitaka, and the Vinaya Pitaka and Abhidhamma Pitaka. These are three. But most of the time, these Dhamma factors we pick up from Sutta Pitaka. In there, they have, there are 5 Nikayas, the books in the Sutta Pitaka, what we call as Digha Nikaya, the long discourses, and Majjhima Nikaya as middle length sayings, and Anguttara Nikaya, all the numericals, number related discourses, and Samyutta Nikaya, gradual sayings, that very important discourses are also there, and also the Khuddaka Nikaya. These are the 5 categories in the Sutta Pitaka. In that, we find this particular Gatha in middle length saying. I did not deliver this kind of story before previous years, but I decided to, since we already had discussed different things previous times, I discussed about 10 perfections, which is very helpful. I also remember that I mentioned about when you see the statue, what it reminds us is these 10 perfections, how he became perfected one. So those perfections are helping us too. Last year, I think I remember, I was reminding you that perfections for us to perfect as a student. So this year I decided to talk about this, just to share this story of one of the Brahmins. So beautiful story. I found it very beautiful. So therefore I wanted to share it with you. Because you may not learn it. Sometimes you may find it certain places. In Dhamma school, there are many stories that you learn. Out of that, I just decided to read this one or together discuss this one from the sutra. It's in the middle size discourse, but very interesting things are there. I think you remember Buddhahamdro, after he delivered his first sermon, after becoming enlightened being, he delivered his first sermon in the place called Benares, in the Deer Park. I believe all this information you know, yet I like to remind you. He, after delivering, only one human being became an enlightened person. Only 5 was there as human beings, others were devas who came to listen to that sermon. And so this 5 became, within short period of time, the number went up to 60. I believe you remember, you all can remember that 5 monks were there, and then the son of Yasa comes to pass by Buddha's way, and he wanted to be a follower of the Buddha, and his 4 friends comes. Afterwards, how many? 50 other friends came to. So very quickly, number went up to 60. There were 60 monks, 60 arahants in the world. And also I believe that, you remember that meeting with the Sariputta and Moggallana, Upatis and Kolita, story of the 2 chief disciples. One of them met with the Venerable Assaji, and then the number goes up. However, how it happened was that when the number 60, there were 60 arahants. So Buddha guided them, advised them to go out and teach. Now, monks, it is time for you to go out and teach. Charata bhikkhave charikam bahujana hitaya. That's how he said it. Go, monks, go around and teach others. Clear Dhamma in the beginning, clear in the middle, clear in the end. So clearly teach the teachings, the Dhamma. Teaching means here Dhamma. To people in the world for the well-being of people, for the comfort of the people, for the happiness of the people, and also for the devas. So this is how he advised. Go and teach this Dhamma for the well-being, for the happiness, for the comfort, Attaya, hitaya, sukhaya, deva manussana. This is how he, advised them. But after giving that advice, Buddha himself started going to keep his promise. I think you remember, you learned that Buddha he kept a promise. Anybody remember what was it? Before he became Buddha, there was a person who invited him. Remember? King of Magadha? King Bimbisara invited him. Because seeing him very young as a bodhisattva, he was just as a truth seeker when he started his life. King Bimbisara coming to know him, that he said, come and, share this, let's rule this country. Then he said, no, I'm not came out for this reason, so there's something that I'm searching for. Then he invited him to, if this is the situation, if this is the case, once you find what you're looking for, please come to our kingdom. So he promised that he will do it. Then what he did? Now he is going to go back to visit him. So he slowly, he started visiting. As he was started visiting, so how did he go? I think you may not know that in the story of the Buddha, there is the traveling mode that Buddha used. There are two. One is called Turita Charika. In the Pali, we call Turita Charika, and the other one is called Aturita Charika. Turita Charika means very quick. He did that. How? Whenever he needed something important. For example, there was times that monks were about to do something. Quickly he appeared in that place. He advised them. Buddha advised them. So he used his psychic energy for that. Getting very quickly, he get into the place and he advised, he woke up that person from that situation. And he advised. There was several situations. One is like, I remember when he was Venerable Moggallana, when he was meditating, he was falling off from a situation, and then Buddha just appeared in front of him. Then he gave him advices. And also I remember one of the monks who he was very frustrated. He was about to destroy himself. Then Buddha just appeared there and he advised that monk. And also there are several other situations. Of course, when we read the Tripitaka, we can find it out. And also the Aturita Charika means that he slowly, he was passing by villages and towns and get to the place where he was. One day he walked about, we call it league, means yojana, 16 miles a day. That kind of visiting he did. We remember that when he was visiting his father, his town where he came out from, he was invited. So it took 2 months for him to go back to Shakyan clan, Shakya kingdom. So in this trip also, he was just going back to Magadha. He was going by passing every day, daily basis, with not only by himself, but it says 1,250 monks were with him. He was going. In the sutta it says, he was large Sangha. At this particular time, Buddha was wandering in the land of northern Aparnas, together with the large Sangha of 1,250 mendicants or bhikkhus, arrived at the town of northern Apanas named Apana. So this is where, passing by from town to town, village to village, he was going. As he was passing by, how did they survive? Going around and collecting food. So going Pindapath around, he was going. Then when he came to this particular village, there was a Brahmin. These people, they have never seen the Buddha. But people were very happy. Some of them were very happy coming to here because about him, there's a good reputation was spreading. What was his reputation? So they all heard about Itipiso Bhagava Arahang Samma Sambuddho, what we recite to pay respect to Buddha Sadhu. Those words were spreading out. So he was, so Bhagava Arahang is a worthy one. So people talk about it. And Samma Sambuddho, he is enlightened one. So likewise, all these 9 qualities of the Buddha people are talking about. They have not seen, they heard about it. Reputation was going around. And as they heard it, they have a desire to see him. They wanted to see him. So there was a particular man in this particular village. His name was Kenya. And he's called also, I think you remember Jatila, the person who wear the turbans. He's an ascetic who was wearing a turban. And when he heard, he was wanting to see him. He saw Buddha was so peacefully walking. When Buddha walks, he does not speak, very quiet. If there is anything, he would turn around, and of course we know that there are stories that certain times he just smiled to the Venerable Anandhamru. As he smiled, then Anandhamru knows there is something for him to share with us. So he asked a question, then Buddha was relating that. He explained it as he was going many times. If there is a thing to teach, he was turning around and then was teaching the Sangha members, because in this particular village, this man was watching him. He was so happy. He was very quiet, therefore he was very happy to see him. He was very pleased, and what happened? This man invited him for the lunch of the next day. Venerable monk, the Bhagavan Buddha, please come for the lunch with the bhikkhus. That's how he invited. When he invited, Buddha knew that number is so big. How can this man feed 1250 people? I didn't read it but I think that's what he was thinking. He refused to accept. As he refused to accept this invitation, but this man was very piously, very devotedly, he was asking him to up to 3 times. Then Buddha accepted it. When Buddha accepted the invitation, this man was very happy. So he quickly went back to his where his village was, the residence was, and he was assigning each one of them, all the relatives. We know that whole village could be relatives together. So when he met their uncles, aunties, brothers, cousins, sisters, and brothers, everybody, he assigned them, please do this part. So everybody took part in this. Everybody was enjoying, very happily engaging in this activity. Dana preparation for the next day. Whole village became very busy, very actively participating in this action. So there was also another, and about Kenya. Kenya was a very rich person, very influential person. That's how he could get engaged. He knew that people are going to help me, maybe that confidence he had. So therefore even though there are 1,250 monks were there, So he was not scared about that number. He had a great confidence that he can feed them. Having that, he did the invitation. And on the other hand, there was another Brahmin who was very learned and expert. He was expert in something. He was training 300 young people, young Brahmins, in what he learned, like Veda. We know that, at that time, there was no Buddhism, there was no Dharma. As a Dharma, what they had was 3 Vedas. Rig Veda, Yajur, Saman, those are 3 Vedas available. Even Prince Siddhartha, as a Prince Siddhartha, he learned those things. Learning, knowing them, what happened? So this particular Brahmin became an expert in those things. And also, I think you all remember that there were Brahmins who who could predict about the people. Looking at them, looking at special characteristics in the bodily marks that he had. We remember that first time we have seen that as an experience, that Prince Siddhartha, when he was born, right? When he was born, Brahmins were invited, and then to give him a name at that time, they examine his body, and they looking at especially that, what do you call that? The hair that was on his forehead, which is circled in the right side, seeing that is this person going to be either Buddha or universal monarch. That is the prediction that he gave. Similarly, this particular Brahmin, whose name was Sela, remember now, Kenya is there, his friend, Sela is here, Sela Brahmin. So, as he was doing this training, his 300 young students, he thought of go for a walk. There's very many occasions we see this, even Buddha went for walks sometimes. So, similarly, this Brahmin also going out for the walk. So, when he was going out, he saw these people were so busy. So, he was wondering what is happening, something is going on here. So, he went to his friend and asked these questions. So Kenya approached, let me read it, because I like to read it for you. As the village was busy, so this Brahmin comes and he asks, Kenya, is your son or daughter being married? Or are you setting up a big sacrifice? Or has King Seni Bimbisara or Magadha being invited for tomorrow's meal? This comes in the sutra. It's not something that I'm making up. So when he was asking this, Sela was asked these questions. Then he said, there's no marriage, Sela, and the king is not coming. Rather, I'm setting up a big sacrifice. The ascetics Gautam has arrived at Apana, together with large Sangha of 1250 mendicants. He has his good reputation. That Blessed One is perfected, fully awakened Buddha, accomplished in acknowledge and conduct, holy, knower of the world, supreme guide for those who wish to train, teacher of gods and human, awakened and blessed. So this is what we always pay respect to Buddha Sadhu saying. So this is the reputation that's going on. So he was sharing that about him to this particular learned Brahmin. When he heard this word, the Buddha, he was so happy. Something came out. So Buddha, that sound even is not here. We cannot hear that sound. Buddha, So when he heard this, some desire arises. I think you may be remembering another person like that. Who do you remember? There was another person was when he heard the word Buddha, something that he couldn't sleep that night. Who was it? There was a man. Anathapindika. Ned? Remember Sudatta? He went into Magadha to meet his business partner, one of his friend. And when he went there, he mentioned that, oh, Buddha is visiting us. When he heard it, he couldn't sleep. He thought even he woke up in the midnight, in the dark, but for him it was light. Because inside his mind, the light was there. That's why he couldn't see. He didn't see that how dark it was. He woke up in the night. He went to see the Buddha, getting the information from his friend. So he was the one who built that Jetavana monastery, which is still existing. The monastery is there, so many thousands of people visit that place every year. Jeta Grove. That's where Buddhahamuru lived about 20 years. 20 Vasas he lived in that place. So that's where you hear Jetavane Anathapindika Sarami. That's the monastery was built by him. Similarly, this sailor, Brahmin, the similar feeling. When he heard the word Buddha, he wanted to be there. He wanted to go and visit. So he wanted to make sure, Master Kenya, did you say the awakened one? I said the awakened one. Did you say the awakened one? I said twice. You just want to make it confirm. Did you say that word? Buddha? Did you say the Buddha? So he was confirming. He said, yes, I said it. Then sailor thought, see, this word, it's hard to even find the word awakened one in the world. He says, the 32 marks of a great man have been handed down in our hymns. A great man possesses these, has only two possible destinies, no other. If he stays at home, he becomes a king, a wheel-turning monarch of just and principal king. His dominion extends to all four sides. So that's about, universal monarch he's talking about. If not, what would happen to him? We know that story. He would, if he leave the palace, if he go away from this, his, what we call as Mahabhidishkramana, great, renounce the world, he would definitely become the Buddha. These are the two options. When he because this man in the Vedic tradition, Vedic Granthas, books, they have found that there are 32 men, 32 Mahapurusha Lakshana, great characteristics of a great being. So he should have these things. Then he was thinking, now he can go and check if that is true or not. This is what he was trying to do. That's what came to his mind. So when it came to his mind, he decided to go. He wanted to go and visit. As he was going in the sutra, he says, as the mother or the father advised his children, he was telling these young princes, Brahmins, he says, when you go there, don't make sound. He does not like, Tathagatas do not like all this noise. They are very respectful. They are always being quiet, observing silence. So he guided them first. And also, when I talk to him, do not talk to him or interrupt me, any of you. If you have any questions, you can ask it afterwards. So this is how he guided those young men. And they went together, and after going there, he there's a cordial conversation always, what we call as, here they call it as a small talk. just to greetings, and after that, he started his conversation. Now, while he is conversing with the Buddha, he also see all these characteristics of the Buddha, and he saw Mahapurusha Lakshana, what we call as Mahapurusha Lakshana. He saw them, seeing them, and also certain things there he was doubtful. So he decided to, according to his books, he know that if there's anything that you are not sure, you can open a conversation, then just praise those words, saying those, you can say about this great, characteristics that he can see, then he would say it to himself. I would like to read that for you. It's a beautiful poems, like in of course Gathas in Pali, but I will read the translation. He says, Sailor start reciting this, extol the Buddha in his presence with fitting verses. What are they? Oh, blessed one, your body is perfect. You are radiant, handsome, lovely to behold. Golden in color, with teeth so white, you are strong. Now he is describing this, the way. Now you are hearing about the Buddha, how he looked. From this, what we can do is, we can see the Buddha. Remember that we always say that, Yo Dhammang Passai Somang Passati. Even though Buddha is not living anymore, we can see the Buddha through the Dhamma. So this is how we can see it. In this Dhamma, so these things are included. Therefore we can, as we hear the description, sometimes you may be, in your mind, some kind of image created itself. So he says, the characteristic of a handsome man, the marks of great men, are all found on your body. Who is saying this? Sailor is saying this. Your eyes are clear, your face is fair, you are formidable, upright and majestic. In the midst of the Sangha of ascetics, you shine like the sun. So, the Brahmin is describing what he heard in his books. He had seen this, therefore it was said that, so he was, describing about the Buddha as how his appearance is. Then he says, you are mendicant fine to see, with skin of golden sheen, but with such excellent appearance. What do you want with the ascetic life? What are you doing with this as a monk? In other words, that's what he's asking. So very handsome looking, shining, handsome man. So becoming a monk, what are you doing? I think you remember that even the Mara was asking the same question sometimes. Right? Yes, similarly, yes. But here is this Brahmin sailor is asking this. You are fit to be the king, a wheel-turning monarch, chief of charioteers, victorious in the four quarters, Lord of all India. So he's saying this, you can be ruling the whole nation. At that time, how many countries were there? How many states? Like in America, even that time, huge country. At that time, even the Pakistan, what we call as Pakistan today, and Bangladesh today, all these things were part of India, and Nepal. Those countries were India, so huge. And there were only 16 states. Out of 16, 4 of them were very powerful. Magadha was one of them. And the others, of course, the individual states, they were ruling very beautifully. So here he comes out from that one of the small nations, what is called a Shakyan clan, Shakya Janapada. So he came out, and he was, now this Brahmin is saying, Brahmin who is living in the Magadha, he is saying, what are you doing? You can rule whole nation. So he says. Then what happened? When he says that, Buddha says this, I am a king, sailor. the supreme king of the teachings. By the teaching, I roll for the wheel, which cannot be rolled back. So Buddha also answered him that question. I am a king sailor, the supreme king of the teaching. Dhamma Raja, that's the word that he used. I am the Dhamma Raja. So by teaching, I roll for the wheel. I roll for the wheel, so nobody can turn it back. I think you will hear that in Dhamma, in Pali, beautifully in the sutta, this called what we call as Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. Beautiful saying is coming there. What says in that? So here he says, Sambuddho parijanasi dhammaraja anuttaro dhammena chakkang vattemi iti bhasasi gotam. So he answered that saying that he as an becoming an Dhammaraja. So he mentioned to him that he is no other than that ruling. Then he asked a question. You say yourself is a Dhammaraja, you are king, but where is your commanders? Who is your commanders? Then of course Buddha answered him, saying that, but there is who is this his disciple? Two disciples are there. One of them we call Dhamma Senapati. Dhamma Sena, Sariputta is the commander. So he would be continue to, even he is not Buddhist, not there, he would continue to this teaching. He was very, some certain times that Buddha, when he was tired, I think you remember that because of his practicing those austerities, his body became weak, and naturally human weaknesses were there, and he became, sometimes when he was teaching, he felt that he had a backache. So he said, Sariputta, continue this teaching, let me lie down for a while. So he did that. See, Buddhahamdruo, even though the great being, so he had that human body, had those weaknesses, and he had very painful experiences. So he lied down sometimes. There are several occasions that he did that, Then after, even Buddhahamdruo was lying down, he was still listening. Then he said, if I were teaching that, that's how I would, I would teach the same way. So therefore, he approved that, even though it, was taught by Sariputta, he said, that become a Buddha's teaching. So therefore, remember in the Sutta Pitaka, there are certain sutras taught by one of his disciples. If Buddhahamdruo approved it, that is going to be his teaching. That's his word. That's the Buddha Bhashita, we call it. So, when you asked that, where is your general? So general was the Sariputta Hamdruo. This is how he said it. By me the wheel was rolled forth, said the Buddha. The supreme wheel of teaching, Sariputta taking after the realizing one, keeps it rolling on. So he was the Dhamma Senapati. So this man was asking all these questions. Then what he did? He also mentioned that to the Brahmin. Now he know that Buddha come to know that this man has a kind of doubt in him. Still he is examining to find out if he is a Buddha or not. Then Buddha said this, I have known what should I, this is the Gatha that I was reciting in the beginning. So he said this Gatha, I have known what should be known, and developed what should be developed, and given up what should be given up. And so Brahmin, I am a Buddha. Now he said himself, he explained, this is what he wanted to get out. This is what a sailor Brahmin wanted to hear. So now Buddha himself mentioned it. So Brahmin, I am a Buddha. Dispel your doubt in me. Make up your mind, Brahmin. The sight of a Buddha is hard to find again. See, now Buddha is saying that the Buddha, the sight of a Buddha, now you see the Buddha, but that sight of the Buddha is hard to find again. For how long? We don't know. Neither. We call it Buddha Shunya Kala. There was a time period where there would no Buddha, you would not hear even a word of the Buddha. The word Buddha would not be there. So when that kind of time comes, where are we going to learn? There won't be a Dhamma. Why? Why would that happen? I think all of you can start thinking about this. What would happen? Why? That is because there would no people who were into this interest. Dhamma would be there. When if you are not practicing, what happens? They disappear. Right? They disappear. Dhamma would be hidden underneath. Nobody knows. Because we were not interested. Our interest goes in different directions. And we would be running after different things. And there would be no Dhamma. Even there could be somebody who is, willing to listen, wanting to listen to Dhamma. That doesn't happen. You remember the story of Dhammasona, right? In the Dhammasona Jataka, King Dhammasona, he wanted to listen in that particular story, but nobody knows. Then what happened? Shakra, king of gods, come down in disguised form, and he just want to make sure that if he really want to, then he disguised form, he come as a demon, and then he says, I know it. Then in the demon story of a demon is that demon won't eat this human being now as his prey. So he says, no, if you eat me up, I don't have a Dhamma to listen. I cannot listen to Dhamma. So therefore, at that story he says, okay, he goes to the top of the mountain, and he was going there, I will jump into you, but in the meantime you can teach me the Dhamma. See how much desire he had to listen to Dhamma? That kind of time period arises. Dhamma is there, so rare. So therefore, people who, like us, if we happen to be in such a period, maybe if you really like to listen to Dhamma, that much of desire would arise in us. I really want, if I could find. So just to test that, if really this King Dhammasondaka want to listen to Dhamma, let me test it. So he, in that particular story, King of Devas come down in disguised form, and he was trying to teach his Dhamma, just to test him. Really he's eager to learn Dhamma or not. So there he found that in that story he jumped out of the mountain into the demon's mouth. So, but definitely that didn't happen. He was not the demon. That he was just to testing, because you would really desire, even though he would eat you up, he is just paying from his own life to listen to Dhamma. So that's how rare the Dhamma is. There would be a time period. That's what Buddha is saying here. So he asks you to dispel your doubt and make up your mind, Brahmin. The sight of a Buddha is hard to find again. So this is good for us too. It's encourage us to, if we take into our hearts and minds, we would be learning, we would be keeping that in our mind, we would be, engaged in practice the Dhamma. That's, maybe we may not be able to do the 100% of that practice, but we still, being a student, all of you can do practice. To a certain amount you can practice. So that much Even as a student, when you go to school, maybe you can keep going with the Dhamma. That's what my, the idea is. Why I sharing this Dhamma is for you to remember as Buddhist children, can we learn it? Can we practice? How much can we practice it? So as he was having this discussion, what is happening at the end? So there is a certain thing that we have to really into focus or in the Dhamma point. But of course, I like to read. I'm sharing this story. At the end, what happened with this Brahmin? So he decided, he made up his mind. He's a very learned Brahmin, yet he changed his mind to leave everything and go follow the Buddha. This is how he said it. He's telling to his students, those who wish may follow me, those who don't may go. Right here I will go forth in his presence, the one of such splendid wisdom. So now he is really admire the Buddha. Hearing that, he having that skills that he developed in him, so he want to follow the Buddha. He did not ask the others to come. He said, whoever wish, you may come. I'm ready to go. Sir, if you like the teaching of the Buddha, we also go forth in his presence, the one of such splendid wisdom. These 300 Brahmins with joined palms held up asked, may we lead the spiritual life in your presence, Blessed One. So all those 300 Brahmins, young Brahmins, they also wanted to follow his teacher and become a follower of the Buddha. Spiritual life is well explained, said the Buddha, visible in his very life, immediately effective. Here the going forth isn't in vain for one who trains with diligence. So this is how Buddha said. When the Brahmins said, and all those young people, they were saying they are willing to go follow the Buddha. So if you come, it is not vain, it's not empty. You will benefit from it. Whoever diligence, whoever want to, diligence means appamada. That's what most of the time we hear the word. Appamada means you are practicing. Who practice, it may bring good results to you. So you are the one. It is well explained. We know that about the Dhamma in the expression we call Sanditthiko Akaliko. That's what he said. Buddha said, is Sanditthiko Akaliko. If you practice this, you can benefit from it. So diligently, you can practice this. So this is the Buddha, how Buddha presents himself as well as the Dhamma. Seeing that man's ability of realizing it, he explained the Dhamma, the way it fitting to him. And also, it not only to him, it fitted to his students too. So everybody was willing to listen to Dhamma. So they listened it, they practiced it. At the end, what happened was, within 7 days, 8 days, 8th day, they went back to him. And they said they achieved their goal. They all became an enlightened beings. So that's how it happened, is that they have been practicing something, spirituality in their lives prior to this lifetime. So all these things, when it come together, we know how long Buddha practiced, right? As you heard, how long did he practice? 4 eons plus time he did practice. Such a long time. Why such long time? 2, it takes such a long time to purify the mind. Our minds are so weak. So this is what happened, right? So therefore, in this particular story, this man, he as well as his students all became enlightened. Now, what happened to Kenya? Kenya, Dana was offered. But Dana was offered, and also this 301, they joined with them. They also was there. I believe that's how it happened. They was in that Dana offering. And after Dana offering, Buddha gave the sermon, and Kenya was very happy. So he was still practicing his, with the village people. He was there, and his friend Sela and his friend, they went and they practiced. Buddha went to Magadha, and later on he was on his way to Magadha. He didn't go there yet. So on his way, they came back and pay respect to him after they achieved their own goal. Now, there's a question. What is the question that comes to our mind? Question was, now what are those things that he mentioned? Abhinyayang abhinyatam. What he said was, I have known what should be known. What is the thing that he should know? How did he become Buddha? By realizing Four Noble Truths, right? Yes. In the Four Noble Truths, what he realized was, there is nothing else but the dukkha, suffering. And then, what else? He also knew there's a way out of that too. That's what he was searching for, right? You learn in Dhamma school that in the Buddha story, we learn that he was searching for, after she had that experience with the old man, sick person, death, and the monk, seeing those four signs, what did he do? It was a shock for him. He went away searching for what is this world is. What is the nature of this world? That is, in that effort, in that particular search, he came to know these Four Noble Truths. Realize it. So also he knew that there's a dukkha is there, also there is a way out of this. What we call as nibbana. Way out of means nibbana, realization. And that is what he learned. That is what he came to know. And bhavetappancha bhavitang, or developed what should be developed. What did he develop? I know in Dhamma school children, you all know this. You all learn this. What did he practice? Eightfold Path. The Magga. Right? Eightfold Path he practiced. Right understanding, right view. So these are the things that we have learned. All these things are for us to practice. Buddha he himself practiced, and also he laid it out there for us to practice in our everyday. All of you are doing this. Maybe you don't know that. You always observe Panchasila, right? In the Panchasila there are several factors of that. Right livelihood is there, right? So remember that we are by learning, those are the things what you do. Right speech you practice. These are there. It is not for us to just learn. It is for us to practice. Those are practical part. So Buddha himself, he practiced those things, what we call as middle path. Middle path in our life, in your life, you can do practice every day. So he says, Pahatabbang pahinang me. Given up, what should be given up? What is the thing to given up? What is the thing that we have to given up? That is also you always learn, you even maybe not familiar with the words. Why are we coming? Cause. The cause should be given up. What is the cause that we are coming back and forth into this cycle? I think you know that word. Our craving, our attachment, our desires. There are so many different words. attachment is the thing that we attach to. So therefore we come back and forth into the cycle. So we may not be able to do that in 100%, but we can let go of so many things. That's how he became. It took such a long time for him. So at least we can practice. In your school life, you can maybe what you experience with the other students, other children. So there are certain things to ignore and focus on your things, what you do. Right? To have good friends with you and what we call as Kalyana Mitta. As you're having Kalyana Mittas around you, and that you may be able to practice this Dhamma even in your school. Remember. So what you do is, you learn in Dhamma school, you think how we can utilize it, how you can practice it, how can you use it. Can we use this in... This is the question that I earlier mentioned, that you may have questions. Question is this: how can we apply the things that we learn in Dhamma school? We go to in the temple and we learn different things, but it seems that we cannot practice these things. No, you can practice. Everyday life, there are things that you can practice. There are little by little, you can, but figuring out, that is the hard thing maybe. Figure out things may be harder, but otherwise, there are a lot of things we can practice. Doesn't matter. You don't have to get intimidated by other children are believing different things. Why are we believing on Buddha? All these things may be appearing. That is what I meant by saying that you are not asking it. If it is suitable, or if can we do it, why do we do it? All these things could be very valid questions. But definitely always you shouldn't be afraid of discussing with the monks. So only thing is we figure out how we can use this. That is the way that you have to handle it. So I think I will stop there. So there are a lot to talk about those 4 parts. Abhinyayang abhinyatan. There's a long discourse that how he described what we should be, how we should realize that, especially in the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. There he describes what is dukkha means, what should we keep in practicing, and what can we let go, what should be letting go. All these things are described there, so we need another time for the discussion of those things. Of course, whenever you come, sit down. These are the things when you do, we should do. As children who is going to Dhamma schools, you should be coming and sit down and talk. Open a Dhamma discussion, not the other things. So that would be very beneficial. How can we? Because we are in a time period where the Dhamma is existing, so where it would be disappearing, as Buddha himself mentioned. So the word even not be there after certain time period. So we have heard it, right? How long is going to be? We don't know exactly, but there are always something is there that Buddha has mentioned. So as time passes by, if we are losing our interest towards the Dhamma, that Dhamma would be hidden away. So there may be another Buddha to dig it out. So that's how it is. Dhamma is going to be existing. So therefore, during the time where the Dhamma is existing, so practice it. So you can also share the Dhamma with the other people around you. Because in the future, in this country, there would be Dhamma available. How? If we do practice it in our lives. So you are going to be inspiring person for the other person to learn the Dhamma who does not know. We always say that there are many people who don't know about Buddha. There are many people who do not know the Dhamma. So therefore, we all, not only the monks, we all can be Dhammadutas by practicing and inspiring other people. When we build up our own life according to Dhamma, that is the inspiring factor to the other people. So I believe all of you got something out of this sutta. It's beautiful. You can read it. That's available in the internet. Sela Sutta. That's in the middle and saying. This sutta is called Sela Sutta. So you can read it very leisurely whenever you have time and try to live up to those Dhamma and share it with the other people, other beings. So maybe by the learning Dhamma, practicing it, may we all be able to attain ultimate happiness of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So if you have any questions also, you can have freedom to ask. I know this is not easy, but if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. So let us do the dedication of merit by listening to Dhamma. Whatever the pure thoughts that we develop or the merit that we develop, we share with all devas. So may all the devas share this merit, may they all attain ultimate bliss of Nibbana. Akasattha ca bhummattha deva naga mahiddhika punyantang anumoditva chirang rakkantu loka sasanam. Same way, if there are any being expecting any kind of spiritual help, all these dead people who are not living with us anymore, may they rejoice this merit, may they all attain ultimate bliss of Nibbana. So you are representing all your friends today, Dhamma school children, right? On behalf of everybody, you are offering Dhamma Puja. We call it, what do we call it? Dharma Puja, you are offering, okay? Okay. So, by listening and offering Dhamma Puja, whatever the merit that we develop, we share it with our departed relatives. There are any being expecting any kind of spiritual, may they rejoice His wholesomeness, may they all attain ultimate happiness of Nibbana. Idang me ñātīnaṁ hotu sukhita hontu ñātayo. Idang me ñātīnaṁ hotu sukhita hontu ñātayo. Idang me ñātīnaṁ hotu sukhita hontu ñātayo. So, for all of you, by listening, so I believe we all can achieve what Buddha taught. We can realize this Dhamma, if not this lifetime, in future lifetime, definitely, by practicing this Dhamma, may we all be able to attain ultimate bliss of Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Abhivadana silissa niccang vaddha pachayino chattaro dhamma vaddanti ayuvanno sukhang balang ayurarogya sampatti sagga sampatti mevacha ato nibbana sampatti iminate samicchatu. Thank you for children for coming and participating. So nobody has questions? Then. Sabbityavachantu sambharogo vinasmate bhaktam sankhe dekhay bhava sabbityavachantu sambharogo vinasmate bhaktam sankhe sabbityavachantu sambharogo vinasmate bhaktam sankhe සම්පීත වජ්ජන්තු සම්බරෝගෝ විනස්සතු මාතේ භවත්වන්තරායෝ පාසල වෙන්න සම්පීත වජ්ජන්තු සම්බරෝගෝ විනස්සතු මාතේ භවත්වන්තරායෝ දීර්ඝායුකෝ භව වජ්ජන්තු සම්බරෝගෝ විනස්සතු මාතේ භවත්වන්තරායෝ දීර්ඝායුකෝ භව සම්පීත වජ්ජන්තු සම්බරෝගෝ විනස්සතු මාතේ භවත්වන්තරායෝ සම්පීත්‍යෝ වජ්ජන්තු සම්බරෝගෝ විනස්සතු මාතේ භවත්වන්තරායෝ දීර්ඝායුකෝ භව සම්පීත්‍යෝ වජ්ජන්තු සම්බරෝගෝ විනස්සතු මාතේ භවත්වන්තරායෝ දීර්ඝායුකෝ භව සම්පීත්‍යෝ වජ්ජන්තු සම්බරෝගෝ විනස්සතු මාතේ භවත්වන්තරායෝ දීර්ඝායුකෝ භව සම්බරෝගෝ විනස්සතු මාතේ භවත්වන්තරායෝ දීර්ඝායුකෝ භව සම්පීත්‍යෝ වජ්ජන්තු සම්බරෝගෝ විනස්සතු මාතේ භවත්වන්තරායෝ දීර්ඝායුකෝ භව
සිනසුරාද ධම්ම පටන් ගන්න.
ඔව්.
මෙයා පුරිත් තියන්නේ නැහැ.
නෑ මේ ග්‍රේඩ් 10 පටන් ගන්න. ඔව්. ඔව්. කීක જાති ඇක්ටිවිටීස්
ඒකනේ වැඩි.
වලට මේව කරාම
අත නමේ කාලේ කොට ළමින්දී
වැඩ වැඩි. ඔව්. වැඩ වැඩි ප්‍රෙෂර් එක වැඩි.
ඕනාදී
ඔව්. අපේ ප්‍රෙෂර් එකයි
print